Hello. Well, today I'm painting, or starting to paint, this fellow. This is a Reaper Red Dragon scene. I forget exactly what it's called. The box is long gone. It's already been primed in white. I tend to use a light coat so I don't clog up the details too much. He's been gapped with P3, they're kind of gray stuff, both in the wings and the horns. I made a major mistake with this one, which took me a while to clean up, which is I used Gorilla Glue to glue the pieces on the base. And, I mean, this just snapped off the top. And the rest, it just exploded. Gorilla Glue expands a lot, and I used way too much. So I had to scratch it off the base and reprime. The base is obviously a treasure hoard on rock. There's also a little dwarf. I don't know that you can see him right now. Right there, hiding behind the rock. But first, we're going to base him. Got, as I said, it's a red dragon. I'm going to go ahead and do red. Most of the dragons I've painted before have been green or purple or blue. So I decided I'm just going to go with the picture on the box. What was the box? I wish I could show it to you. And paint red. I'm using really thin paints. Tend to thin on a wet palette. I like how wet palettes work. I'm currently experimenting with some other techniques with wet palettes, but that's another video. But the paint for the base, I also tend to mix right on the base. And I use whatever I can get, whatever's on sale, whatever I have the cash for at the time. And so my paint set's a bit eclectic, at the very least. This is True Burgundy from Folk Art. I also have True Burgundy from Apple Barrel, which it's a big it's a really big bottle, so I have a bunch of these little pots, and you have the really big bottle paints I tend to put in these tiny little pots for use, which are mostly primary colors. Colors I use a lot. Kind of going pretty dark to begin with because I want to play with some object-based lighting later. Right here, can't see down there. Right down here where the dwarf's hand is resting on the rock, I want to make a little glow emanating from his hand. I figure that this is a good miniature to do this kind of thing with. I thin my paints currently with a kind of gunk. It's currently a mix of water, folk art floating medium, and folk art blending medium. Go sales. Seems that a lot of people, at least miniature painters, discover different mediums. I know, like, Citadel just changed all their paints, so they have things like the texture paints and everything. They really kind of expanded on, but in the world of just plain old acrylic painting, that's been around for a long time. Something used to add texture to your paintings to keep the paints going. I did recently get this Lamian medium from Citadel. I'm a bit leery of Citadel stuff. I don't like it as much. I have a bunch of their inks and washes that I use from time to time, but I tend to use different artist inks instead. Just kind of amazing. I put all the miniatures together. I used to paint first, then put them together, but I found that I was having to fix a lot of things because I'm clumsy. So things would break, things would fall off. I couldn't get things to stay as well. I saw this really great mini. It's I forget the French word game. Miniatures game. I can't remember the name at the moment. I'll remember it here. Whose hands and staff I've yet to figure out how to get back on because they're painted so well, and I'm so afraid of destroying the paint job that I did. A bit nostalgic for that particular paint job. It's too much paint on that brush. Okay. Just like anything, you want to thin things out. Don't, you want to put on more layers rather than having to gunk things up. I know a lot of my earlier miniatures are gunked up messes. And I'm not really a fan of stripping old minis. Though I probably should. Redo them. I'm kind of lazy. So, there it is. I'll probably have to speed this up because you don't want to sit here and watch me base this guy through. I'm actually using a mix of different colors and paints. I'm actually kind of a fan of folk art paints. Not apple barrel, though I have a couple of those up here too. I'm also using, in this particular mix, Outdoor Opaques Berry Wine from Folk Art. But I also got some Barn Red from Apple Barrel and some Tapestry Wine. Actually, I really like Tapestry Wine. That's a fun color. But I'm kind of tend to get my miniatures also on sale. That's how I got this little beast, quite by accident. But I look for a lot of internet sales or going into random hobby stores and see what they have in their bins. Because you never know. I've got some great like circus miniatures and steampunk, or even like used bookstores sometimes. You'll find somebody's abandoned an old box of minis that all they've done is throw a few enamels on. This little one from Ralpartha, which I'm going to repaint, but I actually got this one at a used bookstore. I don't think that you can see that one very well, but it just has a quick application of, it looks like acrylics. That might just be gloss varnish. Sorry, the cat. Goose is a little bit insistent. I have a sink right over there, and she likes to drink out of it. And I'm near the sink, so. This is a pretty heavy one, considering the whole base is metal. It is kind of hollow underneath, only kind of, because all the rocks and things had to be glued on. The dwarf, tail, the dragon itself. Brushes, I tend to use anything that works. I'm kind of mean to my brushes. I do wash them and try to take care of them, but I tend to stick with one or two brushes for a long time. So they get pretty ragged before I'm done with them, before I go buy more. This is a cheap, here's a box full of hobby brushes, but you know, I'm just basing, so I just need to get the paint on there. I'm not too worried about detail. Going to dry. Never quite know what you're gonna get with these little hobby paints. Sometimes you'll get them really, really thick, so that you pretty much have to pull them out with a, I like to use this plastic palette knife, and then remix them. And it does make a difference. I kind of like the pastel looks that you can get. And from these type of paints. A lot of artists don't like them. They like something to be extremely smooth all the time. But I found, if you're just patient, you can get some really good effects, even just from these. And this is going to take a lot of coats, obviously. You can see in just a few minutes, it's very see-through still. Or different people tell me that these paints have too much pigment, usually it's too much. I don't hear too little too often, though. Sometimes you do. I'm sure if I cared to look, they'd be right. But again, I can't afford to replace all these. These are actually fairly new bottles, I think. Yeah, with the exception of the berry wines, these are all very new bottles. I tend to go through a lot of paint. I have to be careful because I tend to forget what I'm doing and start realize I'm dry brushing. That's not what I want. And this guy's got a lot of ridges. A lot of details. It's one of the things I always liked about Reapers is how much detail they've had. I remember when these guys first showed up, you know, we're used to Raul Partha and other random brands I don't even remember anymore. And, you know, Raul Partha is, let's see if I can find it good. I got a bunch here that I've been working on and practicing on over time. This is a pretty typical one. No, I have not painted this one. This one I've only just put on a base. It came this way. But you can kind of see here. See if we can get it to focus. Come on. There we go. Face is really doesn't have a lot of detail. Neither does the miniature itself. I mean, I have a clean one of these, and I can tell you right now that's not just paint caked into it. But you'd be surprised. There's a lot of game stores will have junk bins where they got pieces and odds and ends from broken miniatures. Ones people have donated. Especially if it's an older game store, though. Right now we don't tend to have too many of the older game stores around, at least not around here. But Got a lot of bits and pieces around because of it. Oh. It's a little bit too thick. It's okay. That's what the water's for. I was actually kind of surprised at how nice these brushes were. They, for what they are. I told you I use a wet palette, and when I was first learning how to blend, I'm going to tell you about I'm still learning how to blend, but when I was first learning how, I was looking for videos online, and this was a while ago. YouTube wasn't really as well developed with painting videos as it is now, I guess. I mean, here I am diluting the pool myself. But, there was this guy, and I wish I could find this video. I actually scoured the internet looking for this video. Basically, he took the foam from the blister pack, put it in a dish with some paper towels under it, got it soaking wet, and he blended all his paint right on the foam, and then applied it to the miniature. And I really liked that technique. So then when I started taking painting classes at local conventions, I got scolded for doing it. I ruined my brushes. Crap, I ruined my brushes. And since then, I've been kind of scared to try it again. I keep wanting to, and that's kind of what I'm experimenting. I got, it's holding my paints right now, but I have this huge chocolate box. It's acrylic chocolate blocks for Ferrero Rocher chocolates I got a long time ago, but it seals really well, so I'm actually testing it out right now. I put a little blob of green paint there. I'm seeing how well, and I just put some paper towels and some parchment paper in there, and just wanted to see how well the paint is keeping, basically. I'm a fan of the paint keeping. But I have another one, and I have some thin pieces of foam. One of the things I do still do is I tend to put foam down wherever I'm working, especially my little travel boxes. They don't travel that far, living room and back, so I don't have to sit at my desk the entire time. But it's nice, especially because it'll soak up. When you're doing washes, the foam soaks up stuff, so you can sit there and paint on it. It's a good base to put things on, and then when you're done for the day, you just run it under water and wring it out. It's fine. That's what I used to do, the wet palette. But when I say I was scolded, she took my foam and threw it away. That was in that makeshift palette I had all those years ago now. But I've kind of been a little bit afraid to do it since. So I'm thinking in the other box I may try to do it again, because I like wet palettes. I like that my paint stays wet. I like that I can kind of run colors together. I'm a messy person, so, you know, like that. And still working or learning some tricks with the P3 box. Keep it working as it advertised rather than it does right out of the box. But I really like, I mean, I have a little ceramic, one of those little ceramic flowers that I can use to blend paints right there. But of course, you know, you gotta add a lot of crap to them for them to stay wet. And I like the gunk. I mean, I don't pre-mix it like some people do. I probably should. It'll save me time. To get in all these little crevices here, get something down there. Even though later I'll be washing this fella, if I can get some down there now, save me some ink later. But when you're blending on a sponge, and maybe I can try a different sponge, like a cellulose one or something, so the foam from a blister pack. But when you're blending on a sponge, I don't know what it is, but they really blend well, and you can get a really even blend. When I do my nails sometimes, I'll blend nail colors on makeup sponge, which I have never found them in large flat squares unless you don't break apart the triangles. But they soak up too much water, and I don't think I want that. But I'll do that and get a really nice gradient for my nails. So we'll see there. We'll see what I got a lot of that foam lying around. I tend to keep all of it. I have a bag somewhere. Though I just moved, and I think my sister might have thrown it away. I'll see. But I usually keep all of it from all the blister packs to use in various projects. That blister pack foam you can use in stippling projects really well. I got too much of my brush. But anyway, I'm probably done with me talking now, so I'll just be quiet and continue to base this poor dragon off into the night. So I'll come back with another part where I'm working on other parts. But this is kind of a test video. I think I thought I'd like to try it out. I don't have too many painting people to talk to at the moment. So why not the internet, right? So this took me about 2 hours just to base the dragon. And kind of see him here. It's not a completely even coat. Again, that's okay. There's a lot of shading that's going to have to go into the sky, a lot of blending. This is just to get the first main color down. I haven't even touched the base or the dwarf. The dwarf. The little treasure stealing dwarf ways. It's just the dragon. Small pot. Make sure it's closed. And my palette is this is basically this is what my palette looks like right now. After 2 hours, it's still wet. A lot of the paint is still really good. So I'm probably gonna use some of that to blend. Again, that's the nice thing about wet palettes. They blend really well. It's just my light because I hit it. And painted it red. Yay, light. Okay, so and so this is the dragon right now. Next, I'm gonna work on coloring some of the base and getting a lot of that done before moving on to Mr. Dwarf. So again, until next time, thank you very much for watching.